Hello, Habs fans. Welcome back to this edition of the Habs Fan Forum. I'm Ben Danke, your host, and here at the Habs Fan Forum, this is where us fans get to have our voices heard, which is right now very important. There's a lot going on, and while I'm going to touch on things today in my reaction video to draft weekend, I'm going to go over the round one, which we all have some thoughts about. I'm going to go over rounds 2 to 7, just very quickly sum up some of my thoughts on the draft as a whole. Now, I'm only going to be touching on this because I got a short video here, and if you really want to have an in-depth analysis and conversation about these controversial picks, I think everyone's going to want to know about round 1 and Logan Mayu, as well as a little bit more information about the draft as a whole. The coverage was a little bit all out there, and rounds 2 to 7 this year was a very different feel. So you're going to want to check out the Canadiens Connection or the Press Zone, my sister podcasts here at Rocket Sports Media. Rick Stevens, Amy Johnson, Joseph Whalen, they are going to go into detail on their thoughts on these issues and these discussion points. That all being said, we're all here at Rocket Sports Media, sponsored by DraftKings. DraftKings, who is the leader in daily fantasy sports. They literally make payday every day. Huge cash prizes are available when you set your daily fantasy lineup. They've paid out over $7 billion, $7 billion across all sports to users, and you can get in on the action. All you got to do is download the DraftKings app, and as a new user, if you sign up, you'll get some free entries and can win some great prizes by using the promo code THPN. So how could I not touch on the first round selection of the Montreal Canadiens, Logan Mayu? Incredibly controversial. Look, if you have to put out a statement after you make a draft selection, it's not a good sign. So like I said, you can check out the Canadiens Connection for a more in-depth discussion on this. I would say you separate this into two things. One, Logan Mayu himself and the crime he committed and the wrongs he did, and your thoughts on really how you can be rehabilitated there. My personal opinion is he definitely is in the wrong. He did something really stupid, and he needs to own up to that. And I can only hope he becomes a voice to other youth hockey players. The crime he did was certainly something that's nothing new in hockey, and unfortunately it doesn't get the attention it deserves, and I hope maybe he can become a voice for other young hockey players developing. So I'm not going to go too far into that. Like I said, I'm going to focus on the Montreal Canadiens management team. You had all this goodwill. You had this cup run, this underdog story, this the gamble Marc Bergevin made, and going into the playoffs saying built for the playoffs, and really capturing the attention of us fans on this crazy cup run. And you were going to throw away that goodwill on a first round selection that was just incredibly deaf to what's going out there. It's mind-boggling, really. There were so many other players. Now, don't get me wrong, Logan Mayu looks very talented, but there are other talented players available. Especially after the Tony DeAngelo rumors of trying to bring him on board. I don't even touch that, as well as some controversial decisions in the past for francophone players and coaches, and for development of young players. This team has had a lot of heat on it. Specifically Marc Bergevin. I don't know who signed off on this, whether it's Trevor Timmins, Bergevin, Molson, whoever's on play here. But at the end of the day, every fan across the nation must have just been like, what? I know my reaction was, didn't he say he didn't want to get drafted because he needed to show the values, he needed to really build himself as a character? And you went out and selected him anyways? Because he's a French right-handed defenseman? It was just incredibly deaf. I was left, they literally took the wind out of I was like, wow, so much for the excitement of a round 1 pick. Now I got to talk about sexual crimes and character development and the decisions of management and of course the effect of this on women in general, fans and anyone watching this, seeing this kid get selected. It's just a big bubble of ugliness. So let's wrap that up with saying the general manager and the management team of the Montreal Canadiens lost a lot of goodwill there. But moving on, rounds 2 to 7. This was a weird draft. There was in the pandemic, there was so little. There was leagues canceled. There was a lot less scouting. I usually am super excited for draft day. There's tons of hope. It's like even if I'm not necessarily one who has a full follow up or full picture of all these prospects coming into the league. I try to follow along with Amy Johnson at the AHL Report and Mike Raschel, who does a lot of prospect research on the Rocket Sports media team. Honestly, I soak it in. It's awesome. This year though was a very weird year where I did not have a lot of like information. So really knowing where they're going to go rounds 2 to 7, I was very in the dark. So very cool to see they got 5 picks in the first 100 in the first 3 rounds. That's awesome. I also like that the Habs were able to like trade down and trade out. They traded out for 3 picks because they must not have seen the value at those picks, and better to keep stockpiling a lot of picks for future trades, potentially when they are more of a contender, which that's a little bit of up in the air next year, so we'll tackle that later. But nonetheless, trading out to keep that value of the picks, I like that. All of these teams, though, not just the Montreal Canadiens, we're all over the board this year. It was crazy. Like, we were looking at, like, I was looking at Mike Raschel's lists and Rick Stevens and all, and people they were predicting going in certain areas. And it wasn't just the Habs; it was teams in general. Just there was awesome value. It feels there was really head scratchers. There were trades from Minnesota and Edmonton where you just had to go like, what? and nonetheless, the whole draft was just an odd one through and through. So it wasn't quite the excitement I was anticipating. There's a lot of good players. I think we got Riley Kidney, Oliver Kapanen, Dmitry Kostenko, William Trudeau. And then finally, that's everyone pretty much other than Logan Mayu in the first 4 rounds. And then we got some deeper picks that, you know, when you're looking at rounds 5 to 7, you're looking at projects, you're looking at players you hope you can develop into potentials. There's obviously a lot less chance of them for sure making the AHL, but there's a lot of exciting names there too. The Habs did have a really good haul of young players, so I'm excited to see how they develop. All right, that's it for this week's episode of the Habs Fan Forum. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because it was such an odd draft weekend and I don't know how to react to all these polarizing feelings I'm having. If you like the video, you can like down below. Please share, tell your friends, and subscribe so you can get notified of future episodes. Be sure you're following all Habs for the best Montreal Canadiens coverage. All right, thanks again for watching. I'm Ben Dankyu, and I'm not really feeling like wooing today because of this weekend, so take care, Habs fans.